Okay, well, thanks for coming out and just wrapping up Virginia. It was another good, gritty win. We don't get a lot of style points sometimes for how we do it, but our guys had a lot of resiliency, and I thought played a really good first half. In the second half, certainly the third quarter, Virginia came out and did some really good things, but our guys found a way to win. And obviously the defensive plays by Jesse and Cam Glenn were huge plays. And it was great to see our offense run the ball at the end and get those 2 first downs and take time off the clock. And we're 5-1 right now in fourth quarter games that are 1-score games. Is that accurate, Steve?
Yes.
So a year ago we were 2-5 in those games. So we're finding ways to win close games. We're doing a good job with turnover margin. Our red zone offense and red zone defense are ranked very high. So a lot of the big numbers in total offense and total defense, but all those critical areas that you have to play well in. And that's, again, winning turnover margin, the red zone, third downs, we're very improved in those areas, and it's allowing us to win close football games. So proud of our guys, and that was certainly a great locker room to experience after the game. And again, we have goals beyond bowl eligibility, but for this group for 3 years, that was the first one. That's not our ultimate goal, but that was a goal that we had since the beginning of the season, and I thought it was really important that they enjoy it. And there's not a lot of time to enjoy it with who we play this week. These guys are one of the very, very best teams in the country. And, sometimes teams are really good on offense, and that overcomes a weak defense, or they're really good on defense, and that overcomes a weak offense. Their units are in the top 1, 2, 8 in every measure. They have the number 1 offense in the country, almost 600 yards a game, the number 1 scoring offense, over 50 points a game, the number 8 total defense in the country. They are more than just Lamar Jackson, and he deserves every accolade. I mean, he's as exciting as a college player that I've seen in years. I mean, just the amount of rushing yards, passing yards, how well he operates the offense, his ability to create plays and make people miss. I mean, he is a special once in however type of player, but he's surrounded by some really good players too. The receiver Quick is outstanding. They have 2 running backs that are good, a good offensive line, an excellent tight end. All 3, 4 of their receivers can play. I mean, this is, in our evaluation system, they have, 8 or 9 guys that are elite ACC players on defense and on offense. And then on defense, it's the same way. This front has always been one of the most difficult fronts that we've had. We've had a hard time blocking these guys for 2 years. And up front, they're excellent. Their linebackers are really good. They got some guys in the secondary that I think will be pros. And this is just a complete, solid football team. So we've got to play our best game of the year and take care of details. And there's not a big margin for error when you play a team of this quality. And I think these guys weren't real happy with their seed in the college football playoff poll. So they're playing with a vengeance and a chip on their shoulder with something to prove. So we'll get their best. And it'll be a great challenge, but our guys are looking forward to it. And this is one of the reasons why you come to Wake Forest. You get a degree like this, and you get to play football games like this. So our guys are excited about it. We're embracing the challenge, but we know it's going to be we're going to have to play extremely well. Fire away.
Dave, when you prepare for a guy like Jackson, is it more than just saying you have to play assignment football, you have to stay home and just worry about your job? I mean, I'm with you. I've never seen a player play like this.
Yeah, the challenge of this one, Scott, is that they've got great people, and he is such a good offensive coach. I mean, he's one of the top play callers in all of college football, and you'd say over the last 15, 20. I mean, he knows how to attack people. He knows how to use his personnel. He's got that unique knack of calling the perfect play at the perfect time. He's a brilliant offensive strategist. And then you give somebody like that, a player like he would be a great offensive coordinator if Lamar Jackson couldn't run. And now he's got a guy that, like a year ago, I don't think Jackson made the reads and made the throws that he's making now. And he has been so well coached. His development as a quarterback from last year to this year is a real impressive coaching job by them. And now he's a complete quarterback. He can beat you in the pocket. They're running quarterback zone read stuff with him. They run this double arc stuff. I mean, it is a lot to prepare for with a really talented group of players and a head coach who knows exactly what he's doing and how to attack people.
Is there, and this might be a ridiculous question, but is there almost a temptation to get totally away from what you do to throw a curveball at them as maybe some kind of...
Yeah, the problem is when you get away from what you do, then your kids don't know what they're doing. And we are what we are, we do what we do. You know, there's things that you put in spring football and preseason camp, and that's what you are, and that's what you do. And I think when you try to come up with junk defenses or new coverage in 1 week that kids don't know what they're doing, all it does is slow them down. And this is not a week that we want to be slowed down. So.
You mentioned fourth quarter success as opposed to last year. How much does that feed off each other? The Duke game, did that help you down the road?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, last year the challenge I threw at the teams was we didn't win any games on the road. Our road record was horrendous. Yeah. So we made a big deal playing well on the road, and then we didn't play well at home, you know. So this year the challenge was when we showed them last year's games, you know, we got into 7 games last year, and we'd show them the score. This was the score at the start of the fourth quarter at some point in the fourth quarter, and there were 7 games that were 1-score games in the fourth quarter. We were 2-5. And so this is, you know, we have to finish. And it comes down to depth, executing for 4 quarters, conditioning level, strength levels. And, you know, I went into the season, I said, this is the most depth we've had. It's the strongest we've been. And I think that shows out in the fourth quarter that that's when we, a year ago, lost games. Now that's where we're winning games, which is really rewarding. And again, a lot of credit goes to our strength coach, Brandon Horrigan, and his staff, that they have got us in a position strength-wise and conditioning-wise that we don't run out of gas in the fourth quarter anymore. And we have more depth, so guys aren't playing as many plays.
Speaking of depth, how encouraging was it for you to see the performance of Patrick Osterhage? And what did you see in the film when you reviewed his play from Saturday?
I mean, I give Patrick a lot of credit because, first of all, Patrick, I love Patrick. I mean, he just does everything right. And he was a guy that we recruited at Bowling Green, and then his offers got bigger, and he took a leap of faith with us. And, you know, it's taken him longer than some of his peer group, but he has never stopped working. He's never stopped caring. He's just very unselfish. And I just love it when a player like that gets his opportunity and then plays well. That's so rewarding as a coach that, you know, there's so many guys by the third year, if they're not playing, their care factor starts going downhill and they never become players. And, you know, it's a credit to him and how he was raised and his work ethic that just keeps his mouth shut and works and is always ready. And he played really well in the NC State game too in that fourth quarter. And, you know, he played really well. He knew exactly what he was doing. He had the one bad snap early, but then after that he settled down. And, you know, was he perfect? No, but he played really well. And I just think that's, you know, those are great stories. Like when Julian Jackson did what he did earlier in the year, and now Patrick, those are performances and guys that are ready to step up that save a season.
It's interesting on Patrick because when we talked about the offensive line coming into the season, towards the end of fall camp, he threw out 7 or 8 names that would be in the rotation. I don't really remember his name.
He was always in that 7, 8, 9 area. That it was always, you know, Jake at tackle, and then Gillum at tackle or guard, and then Alik and Patrick. So we knew he'd be in the 2 deep, and you know, Alik last week had some back spasms, so we worked Patrick in at center, and again he was ready to go, and a credit to him. I mean, you know, just. So many times guys are in that situation, they're not ready, and you end up losing the game because of it, and he was there. So really proud of him.
Who plays safety for you this week besides Jesse Bates?
We'll see. We got nicked up there a little bit last week, and certainly Akanye will be back there, and so we'll have to get a rotation going. But we're thin.
Is there any hope with Janvion and Glenn?
Janvion, no. Glenn, hope.
Okay.
But it would have to. Things would have to go pretty quickly here the next 2 days.
Has anything changed with Hinton in terms of, I see you
Yes.
practicing?
No. Our plan was to play Kendall last week. So Kendall had a really good Tuesday practice that had us very optimistic. He looked fast. He looked good. And then I said, I've got to see him in a one-on-one situation. And on Wednesday, he retweaked it.
Yeah.
And he's not going to play this year.
This year?
No, he tweaked his knee again. He tweaked the ligament. It doesn't feel right. And he is, he's out there doing rehab stuff. We didn't give him any reps. And, he tweaked it. It's going to set him back a couple of weeks. And he's done. He's not going to play this year.
Even bowl game or nothing?
It's not healthy yet,
I understand.
and he can't protect himself.
Okay.
And, it's just one of those things with the knee, that you hope he could come back. And, this has not been a cat and mouse game of trying to pretend he was going to play and throw off other people. Because as of last Wednesday, we gave him the first reps in 2-minute drill. And, he stepped out of a rush. And I told him, I need to see you go against Duke Ejiofor, Josh Banks, Markel Lee, and make those guys miss in space. I need to see Kendall Hinton. And the first play, he did it. And we got excited. And then 2 plays later, he sidestepped a rush, and he pulled up on it right again. And he just had that look of frustration of, Coach, I still feel it. And so, he can't protect himself, and it's still not healthy. And so it would be a couple more weeks.
Well, you were right. You said you need them both anyway. You said that from the very get-go.
Yeah, I didn't want to be right.
I know.
That-
Who becomes your emergency quarterback?
Well, Kyle Kearns is the backup,
Right.
and Kyle Kearns is the backup.
Yeah, you don't want to burn a shirt now.
I mean,
It's technically a red shirt, it's not really a
Well-
medical red shirt.
well, no, it's a medical. It would, we will apply for a medical red shirt after his 4th year.
Okay.
So he would meet all the criteria,
I got you.
but you don't apply for, you can't declare it a medical. You apply for the medical after the 4th year. But he only played in the first 2.5 games, and is not going to play in the second half of the season.
What's the criteria, do you know offhand?
I think you've got to play in, it's 30% in first half of the season. So,
A few minutes.
yeah, so he would meet all the criteria they have. I mean, this would be a pretty open and shut case if we apply for it, but you don't apply for it till after his 4th year.
Is he still gonna travel, things like that?
Yeah, we'll keep him involved, just because I think as the quarterback, you want him getting the mental reps and you want him being around the team. And, you never want those guys to drift away, and Kendall wants to be involved. But, again, that was, we didn't even dress him last game. He was on the sidelines in shorts. So we knew Wednesday we had the doctor look at him, and he's just not there yet. He's not strong enough there, and he's not comfortable with it. And again, it was a minor setback. He didn't re-tear it or anything, but it's not completely healed.
Well, at least it's settled. At least the issue is settled now.
Yeah,
There's no back and forth.
no, and I mean, and I think in some ways for John, it allowed him to play. Yeah, I mean, you're not looking over your shoulder. So, and again, it is what it is. There's competition, but, I think, John knew that, we were trying to get Kendall reps and trying to get him ready to go again and giving him some ones because we thought he could go. So now it's John's 1 and Kyle's 2, and Driscoll would be 3 in an emergency. But it is what it is. That's college football. Injuries happen, and, it's unfortunate, but tell you what, John Wolford, I thought, played a heck of a game on Saturday. He really did. I mean, 9 of 10, and, the play he made with his feet, the end of the game and the touchdown. And he played very confident, played mistake-free. We didn't turn the football over. So, we don't win that game if John doesn't play the way he does.
Does this, and again, I'm just thinking out loud, does this benefit your line in a crazy way too? Because now they have one particular guy to block for? Because everybody you block for a little differently.
No, not really. I mean, we run the same, like I said, that we run the same plays with both guys. We certainly do more of the zone read stuff with Kendall when he was in there, but John has rushed for how many yards this year? Right, he's our second leading rusher, right, Steve? So, I mean, it's, again, last year, I've said it a million times, last year John played the whole year on a high ankle sprain. And you're seeing now how fast, John outran their whole secondary on that one play. So you're seeing how fast and how athletic he is.
With the situation being as it is, you're down to 2 quarterbacks basically.
Well, no, Kyle Driscoll knows the offense, and we give him reps every week, and it is what it is.
My question is, do you change anything to make sure John doesn't have to run as much? Or?
Got to try to win the game. You got to try to win the game. We can't play with 3/4 of the offense. We're an offense right now that we're more ball control, and obviously we had a plan that we were going to run the ball a lot on Saturday, and I thought we executed that plan. Didn't turn it over. We won the time of possession. We ran the ball for over 200 yards. Who would have thought 2 years ago that would be our plan here? And we're going to run the offense, and you can't play scared. If you say, geez, we got to worry about him not being hurt, then you don't give yourself a chance to win.
What were you guys able to see in Jesse Bates that hardly anybody else saw? Obviously Akron, I think maybe Ball State.
Well, at the end, he had a good senior year. He had Iowa at the end, too.
That's what Les said.
So he nowadays in recruiting with all these different websites that rate kids and tell you who's 3 stars and 4 stars, right?
Yep.
It's not a bad business. The players that get really high ranked are the guys that go to the camps. And Jesse was a 3-sport athlete. So he wasn't a guy that did football year round. So he wasn't doing the 24/7 and the rivals and the scout sites. He played baseball and he played basketball and he was a 3-sport athlete. So he didn't get all the recruiting attention just a football player would do that goes to every one of those different combines. And we saw a guy that had a great senior year, that was a great basketball player, who was a really good baseball player. And sometimes those guys become the best football players because once they get to college and just focus on football, their improvement is really good. So I was going to have fun if that was one of your calls.
So we can have fun with you now.
I think this is Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. It's one of those numbers that, yeah, I get those calls too.
Probably so. He said he came in at 4.8 and he's a 4.52, and I said, well, that's the MO at Wake Forest. If you can get the athletes in there and coach them up and train them, that is your MO.
Again, that
Ron Wolford said he came in like a 4.9, now he's a 4.6 now.
we are people think it's bad to say it. We're a developmental program.
Yep.
We are. Those are our
Yep.
that's our sweet spot. Guys like Jesse Bates and guys like Duke Ejiofor and guys like Markel Lee. That Kevin Johnson, Tommy was what, 2-star?
Yep.
2-star recruit. Now he's our hit ratio on developing those kids has to be really high here.
Yeah. You
So-
could take the Jesse Bates story into a living room and say, you're this now, but we can make you this.
My last team at Richmond had 9 NFL players on it. That story has gone from Richmond, Bowling Green. 7 or 8 of our kids on defense the last 2 years were in the NFL. Some made it, some got drafted, some had a cup of coffee. So I think that's, when you coach at the lower levels, I think you have to do that. So I think that actually helps when you get to a place like this. That's been our MO from day one.
What's interesting about Jesse is that he probably came really close to not being here. He was committed somewhere else. And if I recall correctly, the story, I think as he told it, he wasn't completely sure he was even going to visit here.
It's an imperfect science. I mean, if we didn't lose 2 safeties in January, we aren't even recruiting Jesse Bates.
Wow, wow.
You know, now we had on him on our list, and he was a guy that if we had lost somebody, that we recruited him, but we didn't have anything for him until January.
He said Coach Elko was in contact with them regularly, but,
Mhm.
you know,
That's why you keep working at it. Like people think, geez, your class is almost done. We're still recruiting. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what needs are going to emerge, and you don't know which coaches are leaving which places. So, you know, sometimes we just stay in touch with guys just in case.
You saw it pretty early when he got here, though, apparently. He had a good first year, though, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Wolford said he knew he was on the scout team.
Yeah, he just has really good ball skills, Dan.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, great ball skills. I mean, he's our punt returner, and I mean, he just, you know, the pick he made against Army the week before, that wasn't even his play. You know, and honestly, the pick he made last week was his easiest pick. Now, the return afterwards was what was special, but, you know, I think most of us in this room could have made that pick. But it's what he did with it after the catch, and he's got just really good ball skills.
We use the term a lot, house money. You guys are bowl eligible. You're going to play.
1-0, baby. 1-0, buy in, Dan.
So is that how you react?
We want to go 1-0. Well, we told our players you're bowl eligible. We use the bowl word finally,
Yeah.
but now 24 hours Sunday night, got to move forward. And if you don't, I mean, this team doesn't beat people; they're destroying people.
Yeah.
Games are over by halftime. 600 yards, 50 points. That's what they average, and a top 10 defense. And how much of their defensive yards have been garbage yards at the end of games that they've already had the game won? Like if they really had to play 4 quarters, their defensive numbers are probably better.
You could have beat them the last 2 years. Do you get anything from that? Confidence?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, you asked me a week ago if that was the most painful loss, and that one last year against these guys was really painful. And we turned the ball over 3 or 4 times in the fourth quarter.
13-7, right?
Yeah.
13-7.
Had a lead and had the ball in the red zone. So, yeah, but they're a different team. And the quarterback is a totally different player than he was a year ago or anybody they've played with at quarterback since they've been there, really, I mean, in college football.
Louisville
So,
does have a great defense, but your numbers are pretty good too on the defensive side.
yeah, we're really good on defense.
Does it pose an extra problem to have a team like them that can do both phases of the game, running and passing equally well?
Anytime a team, they're top 10 in both.
Yeah.
You don't get the 600 yards by doing one. And he's the leading rusher in the conference, I think. So, I mean, but they're more than, I mean, their running backs and their receivers, so much focuses on him. If he couldn't run, they would still be an explosive offense because of the skill in the offensive line. This is a complete, stocked, loaded football team.